Morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 4th, 2018 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. Welcome you all today. We begin, as we always do, with a prayer, and I'd like to say an invocation, so please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, please look over us today as we do the business of the county and work to make the best decisions we can. Please guide our hand in helping the people of Henderson County. Please look over our audience this morning. Please put a special blessing on the family of Roy Kritzer, longtime public servant here who passed away this morning. We say all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Magistrate Warren. Magistrate Alexander.
Here.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Here.
Magistrate Todd is absent today.
Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the November 20th Henderson County Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other additions, clarifications, or corrections? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a very special guest with us today. Ms. Callie Gobin from East Heights Elementary is our Judges Scholar for December, and I'd like to ask Callie to join me right up here in front. Callie, a special proclamation in your honor.
Callie Gobin has been chosen by East Heights Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Honor because she made a choice to accept changes that would benefit her education and well-being. And change is not easy. However, Callie's ability to embrace change has led to growth that will not only further her successes in life, and whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking necessary steps for an overall improvement, and whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Callie's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students, such as Callie, will be our future leaders. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim December 4th, 2018 as Callie Gobin Day.
Members of family and
We didn't have any Christmas music. It got kind of quiet.
Judge, before we get started, could I just issue a thank you?
Sure.
To Miss Cindy Williams. She's so dedicated. She was so much involved when we put the scholar program together. And she's been here every time with those cameras, taking all those pictures. We appreciate you, Cindy. Just thank you so much.
Great point, Magistrate Putman. I do appreciate the school system making a big deal out of the Scholar Program. And thank you, Cindy. At this point, gentlemen, in your packets is a resolution supporting modernization of the transportation funding mechanisms at the state level. And I'd like the clerk to read this resolution, please.
A resolution supporting addressing the modernization of Kentucky's transportation funding mechanisms to address the transportation funding needs throughout the Commonwealth. Whereas all of Kentucky benefits from an interconnected, multimodal transportation network that contains 57 airports, 2,600 freight rail miles, 8 operating public river ports, a statewide transit network, more than 14,000 bridges, and nearly 80,000 centerline miles of roadways. Whereas safe, efficient transportation is deemed as an essential public service provided to all Kentucky communities. Whereas all Kentucky communities depend on a safe, reliable transportation network to enhance economic development opportunities. Whereas all Kentuckians depend on the transportation network for access to education, health care, employment, and other basic necessities. Whereas according to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Kentucky's road fund requires an additional $500 million per year to address current maintenance and construction needs. And whereas Kentucky's airports, river ports, railroads, and transit systems require sustained, adequate investments for maintenance and improvements, now therefore be it resolved that the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports legislation to modernize Kentucky's transportation funding mechanisms to increase existing sources of funding to generate revenues needed for maintenance and construction on all modes of transportation. Be it further resolved that Henderson County Fiscal Court strongly encourages the Kentucky General Assembly to act as soon as possible to address all of Kentucky's transportation funding needs to avoid further erosion of the transportation network.
And I'll reiterate that this resolution is similar to one being passed around to all 120 counties in Kentucky and cities in Kentucky to support, because we all know at the local level how important maintenance and funding for new construction when necessary is to our communities and economic development and all those things. So we thought we would join all the other counties that have a mind to support this and send them to our state legislators and also organizations that actively advocate for better transportation funding in the state and better transportation overall. So anybody have any questions about the resolution?
I don't know the resolution, Judge, but I guess in general, would this not go back to the need to look at the gas tax?
That could be one way.
One of the is there
There's
another
a
major one that?
Well, there's a debate about what to do instead of just a gas tax, because more and more vehicles are not relying on gasoline.
Get better gas mileage too.
Yeah, and so there's one of several ways, and we're not in this resolution, as you know, it's supporting one over the other. We're just encouraging the legislature to take a good hard look at it and come to a resolution.
You know, Judge, I think that I just hope that our elected officials on the state level have the intestinal fortitude to do the right thing, because our roads, as people look, our state roads as well as our county, we took a pretty good hit the last few winters. Has really hurt us bad, and it's going to take a lot to build them back up. And I think that what's happened is kind of a perfect storm, as George talked about, where you got, the gas mileage is getting better. They lowered the gas tax. It used to be 32.5 a good while back. Now it's like 26, maybe 26.5 or something. And I think all that combined, it's going to bite us one of these days. If it hadn't already, I think it probably already has. I just hope that they can do something about this, because this is a key to all.
Well, and I do think the as you mentioned, much of the gas tax at the state levels linked to the wholesale price of gas, and when, as you noted maybe recently, that it dips down below $2 a gallon, that's terrific for consumers, but it also drastically reduces the amount of money going into the state coffers that eventually end up with counties and other projects. And I would also say that it also impacts big projects like the I-69 bridge, Kentucky's ability to participate in those larger projects. So.
For every penny, it's $30 million in this. It's talking about $500 million per year. Well, for every penny of gas tax you raise or decrease, it's $30 million in our fund.
Yeah.
And I think, if y'all correct me, but I know when we lost the coal severance tax money, I believe we lost like $300,000 in local tax for transportation. Bill, do you remember what the amount? It was substantial, and it had to do when they did lowered the gas tax. So it does impact local budgets.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make a motion that we approve this.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson?
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander?
Aye.
Magistrate Warren?
Aye.
Magistrate Putman?
Aye.
Gentlemen, now we are going to eventually go into public hearing on the SCAPS bond issue. We passed first reading of last fiscal court meeting. So I'd like a motion to go into public hearing for second, to eventually get to second reading of this bond issue.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. Any other questions? I'll expedite this by saying all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the purpose of this public hearing is in accordance with the requirements of Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended regarding an issue of proposed industrial revenue bonds Series 2018A in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $3.5 million and industrial revenue bonds Series 2018B in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6.5 million, the proceeds of which are to be made available by loan to PBR Incorporated, DBA SCAPS Industries, and applied to costs related to its acquisition of Matrix Composites here in Henderson, which will stay in its location on the 425 bypass here and hopefully expand and grow. Notice of this public hearing was published in the Gleaner November 15, 2018, meeting statutory regulations on announcing public hearings. We also mentioned it at our last fiscal court meeting. I have copies of the notices that appeared in the Gleaner here, if anybody would like to see that. It should be noted again, the bonds in question will not be a liability of the county nor count against our bond rating or bond capacity. At this point, anyone wishing to comment on this bond issue, feel free to approach the podium. We also have Mark Franklin here, a bond counsel from Stolking and Ogden, to inform the debate if anybody would like to say anything. I'll invite one more time, right? 3 times. Anybody would like to say anything? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now out of public hearing. That leads us to the second reading of the ordinance issuing these bonds, and if it's okay with Mr. Gold, can we just read the summary? Okay. I'll have fiscal clerk just read the summary at the top of the ordinance, and we'll vote from there.
An ordinance of the Fiscal Court of Henderson County, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of its A, industrial revenue bonds, SCAP Industries Project Series 2018A, and B, industrial revenue bonds, SCAP Industries Project Series 2018B, all in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $10 million, authorizing the loan of the proceeds of the Series 2018 bonds to PBR Incorporated, a Georgia corporation, DBA SCAPS Industries, for the purpose of financing the costs of all or a portion of an industrial building project to be owned and operated by PBR Incorporated, approving the sale of the Series 2018 bonds to the purchasers thereof, authorizing the execution and delivery of an indenture of trust and loan agreement governing the sale and issuance of the Series 2018 bonds and the use of the proceeds thereof, authorizing further action by county officials and directing them to take all necessary action to effectuate the intent and purpose of this ordinance.
If you don't mind, I'd like Mark Franklin to come to the podium and answer any further questions anybody from the fiscal board may have on this. Again, this is for the purchase and all related costs, their acquisition of Matrix Composites, and their hope to not only solidify its business but grow.
Good morning. Glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You know, Judge, I will make a comment. This is the kind of thing that we really shoot for. You take care of our existing businesses and let them expand. Sometimes it's hard to get new industry, but at least we can do is take care of the old we have.
A job's a job, regardless of where it comes from. And this is even more advantageous because it really doesn't involve our lending. We just have to bless it. So I appreciate working with Mr. Franklin on this. It can be complicated at times, but with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson,
Aye.
Magistrate Putman,
Aye.
Magistrate Warren,
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander,
Aye.
Judge Snyder.
Aye. Thank you, and thank you, Mark. Next, we have second reading of an ordinance amending our alcohol-related laws regarding package sales to mirror those of the city. And if anybody has any comments or questions about that before we read the ordinance, I'll have the fiscal court clerk read the entire ordinance, please.
An ordinance amending the existing ordinance relating to the sale of alcoholic beverages on Sundays, amending the hours of Sunday sales by the drink, and establishing hours for the package sales on Sundays. Whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court passed ordinance number 1701 on March 7, 2017, which amended Chapter 90, Article 11 of the Code of Henderson County to provide for and regulate the sale of alcohol beverages by the drink on Sundays beginning at 12 noon. And whereas the City of Henderson has passed ordinances allowing for the sale of alcoholic beverages both by the drink and in packages beginning at 10 a.m. on Sundays, whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court deems it beneficial to harmonize its alcohol beverage control ordinances with those enacted by the City of Henderson, Kentucky. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Henderson County, Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. Section 90-11D of the Code of Henderson County shall be amended with additions in bold underline and deletions in bold strike through as follows. The sale of distilled spirits and wine by the drink and malt beverages by the individual container shall be permitted on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. and on Sundays that fall on December 31st from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following Monday by hotels, motels, golf courses, and restaurants which are licensed for the retail sale of malt beverages and distilled spirits and wine by the drink and which have dining facilities with a minimum seating capacity of 50 people at tables and which receive at least 50% or more of their gross annual income from their dining facilities by the sale of food. A new section of 90-11 of the Code of Henderson County is hereby created as subsection F, and said section shall read as follows. Licensees which have been issued a quota retail package license or a non-quota retail malt beverage package license shall be permitted to sell alcoholic beverages on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. of the following Monday. All other provisions of 90-11 of the Code of Henderson County shall remain in effect without amendment thereto. All ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith are, to the extent of such conflict, hereby repealed. The provisions of this ordinance is severable, and if any provisions or part thereof shall be invalid or unconstitutional or inapplicable to any person or circumstance, such as invalidity, unconstitutionality, or inapplicability, shall not affect or impair the remaining provisions of this ordinance. Whereupon, County Judge Executive Brad Schneider declared the ordinance adopted on its first reading and ordered the same be published in summary form and presented for second reading on December 4th, 2018 at the regular meeting of Fiscal Court.
To reiterate again, we're basically mirroring the city's regulations, and it should be noted that any establishment that wants to take advantage of this must first acquire its license, and then it becomes eligible to sell during these hours. Just because we're doing this doesn't mean an unlicensed facility can do these things. So, any other questions?
You know, Judge, really, I haven't heard a negative comment about it.
I haven't either.
I hadn't, yeah.
So can I get a motion to approve that, please?
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Putman,
Aye.
Magistrate Warren,
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander,
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Thank you, and I'll also vote aye.
Aye.
Next, we have finally second reading of our budget amendment. We had to hold over from the last fiscal court meeting because we were waiting for approval from the state of our initial reading of this and initial vote. If Brent Ryder has any comments, I can turn it over to the fiscal court clerk to read these. I'd like to approve all the amendments as one if I could. And any other questions after this reading here? So if the court clerk would run through the amendments really quickly, basically focusing on the numbers.
An ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof, whereas the County of Henderson has realized unbudgeted receipts from electronic fund deposits to the State Grants Fund, U.S. Marshals Service, Commonwealth of Kentucky, and error in transferring to the jail fund. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of the County of Henderson, Commonwealth of Kentucky, the budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 is amended to and increase the receipts of the State Grants Fund by $375,663.41 to include unbudgeted receipts from account code 064731 miscellaneous revenue by $178,843.53 from prior year carryover by $196,819.88, transferring out $375,663.41 and transferring in $375,663.41. Increase the expenditure accounts, the contingent appropriations, the jail account, increase that by $375,663.41. The amounts adjusting the receipt and expenditure accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. Budget for fiscal year 2018-19 is amended to increase the receipts of the State Grants Fund by $132,000 to include unbudgeted receipts from prior year carryover by $132,000. Also increase the expenditure accounts from the Kentucky Pride composting grant by $128,000 and 2018-2019 waste tower grant by $4,000. The budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 is amended to include an increase the receipts of the general fund by $193,133.17 to include unbudgeted receipts from the prior year carryover of $193,133.17, and increase the expenditures account for the contingent appropriations by $193,133.17.
And to summarize, the first page was for directing money to the jail where it needed to go. Second one was for accounting for 2 grants, the composting grant and the waste hire grant that we got. Congratulations to Nancy Watkins for helping get that and amending them into our budget. And then posting into the general fund costs from the jail for acquiring the land we recently bought for an expansion and hopefully building the probation and parole office.
Right.
And finally, one more to go, right?
Yes. Budget's also amended to increase the receipts of the general fund by $9,562 to include unbudgeted receipts from sheriff's grants by $9,562 and increase the expenditure account for ammunition for the sheriff by $9,562.
And good job, Sheriff Brady, in getting that grant. Any questions? The Finance Committee has reviewed these moves and changes. They were all obviously necessary. Any other comments from members of the Finance Committee?
Like you, glad to see the grants. Good use of the money.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess I was a little bit Amy, was it 375,000? You already had that in your budget, didn't you, this year?
Yes, sir.
So it was already included. It was just a matter of us moving the money because it came to the wrong place, right?
Yes, sir. Somehow the accounts with the state, I guess some of the federal accounts, got consolidated, and so everything for Henderson was the first account they found.
Yeah. It just wasn't like a bump for you, is what I.
For the record, because
Thank you.
Jayla Brady didn't step up to the mic, but it was for funds that were consolidated into the wrong account.
Got
and
it.
we're moving it to the correct account.
Thank you.
And we hopefully have corrected that error moving forward. So, any other questions?
Move to
do I need
accept.
move to accept? You have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Warren,
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander,
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson,
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Thank you. Getting through those ordinance amendments is always time-consuming, but I'm glad we're done with those. And Mr. Gold, your report, please.
Judge, I've got a few checks today. The first is a reimbursement for salaries, FICA, and retirement in the amount of $1,522.44. Dental and life insurance in the amount of $3.33. Health insurance, $275.76. Interest, $98.38, bringing today's total to $1,899.91. And the fiscal year total to date to $67,452.94. And Callie, could you hand that to the judge for me, please? Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope that $3.33 bought somebody a container of floss or a toothbrush or something like that.
Undoubted.
Motion to accept the county attorney's report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Warren,
Aye.
Magistrate Putman,
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander,
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
That I'd ask Treasurer Brenda Ryder to come up with her claims and fund transfers.
I have 2 claims from the jail fund in the amount of $1,827. This is to CMS uniforms, and it's to come from the staff uniforms appropriation line. The second is in the state grants fund in the amount of $12,320, and this is to Moit Construction, and this is to come from the composting grant appropriation line.
Any other questions about those 2 claims?
Move to pay the claims, Judge.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander,
Aye.
Magistrate Warren,
Aye.
Magistrate Putman,
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Any transfers, or is that it?
That's it.
Good deal. Thank you. Now I'd like to call Planning Commission Director Brian Bishop, who has a special presentation. as part of good of the county.
Yes, sir. Since it is the Christmas season, Claudia and I come bearing gifts. This gift is a check for $22,614.50, which covers the county's portion of the Plan Commission's excess revenue, which is basically money we had left over. This money comes from a couple different sources. The first is revenue that we don't anticipate, such as cell tower applications, which would be $2,500, which the county had this year, and revenue that we don't expect through plat recordings and things like that. We have also done a pretty good job at finding ways to save money. In this case, it would be the fiber optic that the Planning Commission provides. Well, we are the conduit that the county uses for the network. We were able to go from $5,000 a month to $2,500 a month on that. So with that being said, Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. And thank you, Claudia. I believe the consolidation of our county website also helped as well, correct?
It did, sir. We had approximately $10,000 budget for that, and since the county was nice enough to piggyback your efforts, we were able to save that money and return those funds to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
I'd also like to call up for the good of County Jailer Amy Brady, who has a bid she'd like to open.
Anybody have a pocket knife?
Just pull up on the tape.
Amy, remind us what this bid is for.
It's for inmate medical services. County Attorney Steve Gold's office, Nicole, they've worked very hard. It's
On preparing the bid specifications?
yes, the RFP, and to get everything in there that we needed. So there was only one that was submitted. There was another call, but that person never sent anything in. So the only one that was
This is
submitted
from,
was Southern Health Partners, and it says in the request for proposal that they'll be reviewed by the magistrates and fiscal court and the county attorney to see if it meets all of the needs of the facility and everything that was advertised.
so we'd be prepared to make a recommendation at next fiscal court meeting on its the propriety of the bid?
Could you read the amount of the bid into the record, just so we have a recording of that, please?
I would if I knew where to find it.
And this is from your current vendor, correct?
Yes, sir. How about I hand this to you?
Probably only need one.
While Steve is doing that, can I ask the members of the jail committee to help review this and make have a recommendation by next meeting?
Strangely, Section 18, the summary, doesn't actually summarize the bid.
The price proposal here, page 25.
Looks like 29 is what it is.
They have two options, looks like. One for $955,240 and one for $1.1 $1,170,520. Is that what you have? So those are the two
It looks like
options.
and they have 3% increases in future year pricings for the next 3 years.
So Jailer Brady, if you want to review that with the jail committee and Mr. Gold and bring back a recommendation. Next meeting. Give me this. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, with that, I invite anybody else who has anything for the good of the county to come up and say whatever you like. Anybody? Magistrate Putman?
Oh, thank you, Judge. I was kind of relaxing there for a moment. Callie, congratulations. I know everybody's got to be extremely proud of that young lady. I can see by the response that your family is very, very proud of you. You know, you always heard it's not where you start, where you finish. But I think in this case, she started off, she kind of raised the bar, so she started off on the right foot. So just encourage you to keep up the good work, and I know you got a bright future in front of you, so congratulations. And Judge, everything's good in the fourth.
Magistrate Warren?
I was up here at the courthouse yesterday, and Callie, first of all, I want to say congratulations to you, and I always like to kind of come up with little scenes. But anyhow, there was a car parked out in the parking lot, and I had to take a picture of the what was in their window, and it says, "Accept what is, let go of what was, have faith in what will be." And it made a lot of sense. And so I hope as you go through life that you will, as you've done already at a young age, make a difference and continue, because one person can make a difference. It doesn't have to be a big group, but you can grow that group just by starting. So again, congratulations to you for what you've done, and very, very proud of you and your family as well. And the principal, East Heights, is that correct?
Yes.
You must be doing a great job as a principal to be able to have people like Callie, so thank you. The only other thing is, Bill, don't forget Green River Road, number 1, if you can look at gravel down there. I know the river's gone back down, so if we can put in gravel down there. So, and other than that, that's it.
Magistrate Alexander?
Well, congratulations, Callie, again, and congratulations to the family, because that's the base of where you come from. You've got a good family. Also, I hear good things about East Heights School, too. Congratulations for your fine job out there. I had one other thing. I think Amy was telling me about some flu shots. She wanted to, I'd ask her to come up and tell us about that.
About a week ago, we were approached by Miss Atterbury at Rite Aid, 5th Street, and I'd met her through Magistrate Alexander, and she said that they had some flu shots that were available that were free and no cost to the jail if we had people that needed those. They came out to the jail last Friday, spur of the moment, gave 106 flu shots to some staff that didn't get them, and then the inmates, the ones that work and that are in the drug programs, at no cost. I mean, it's saved the jail a lot of money, saved medical a lot of time and effort, and we'd like to thank everyone for that. So I phoned Mr. Alexander this morning just to say, hey, how much we appreciate that.
Please pass along our thanks.
I'm through.
Magistrate Wilkerson?
Congratulations.
Mr. Gold?
Well, Callie, like Magistrate Warren, I'm kind of a quote guy. I like quotes. So I was thinking about, as we, as a nation are mourning the passing of the first President Bush, I was kind of thinking about some quotes of his, and there was one that I really liked that it applies to young people and all of us, really. One of his quotes was, "Be bold in your caring, be bold in your dreaming, and above else, always do your best." And I know you've always done your best because you're here, right? but dream big. Be bold in those dreams, and be bold in caring about other people and the things that mean something to you, and go find a way to make the world a better place in your own way. I know, one of the things we see a lot as we see young people up here is so often we see that whole front row filled with family, and family means so much, and don't forget that all those folks over there, that's where you come from, and they're part of what makes you who you are, and be appreciative of that. And I know East Heights, you talked about East Heights being a good school. I've had 2 children go all the way through East Heights, and I know you've had an excellent education because they do a fantastic job. And were you going to be in the Christmas parade for anything? Well, the judge and I were going to be, and so we got this great big dump truck from the county, thanks to Mr. Kubiak, and we were going to drive it. And we got about halfway there and got word that it was canceled. But we had a lot of fun in that 2 blocks of driving a dump truck. It was a lot of fun. So thanks to the judge for getting out with me in the rain, and thanks to Mr. Hubiak for arranging that. It's important to have a presence during those parades and whatnot. It's a shame that it did have to be canceled. But other than that, Judge, things are good in the Henderson County Attorney's Office. We do have 2 new assistant county attorneys. One is a gentleman named Lawson Lambert, and beginning yesterday, there's another gentleman named Don Thompson Jr., who's also a new assistant county attorney. So we've had a lot of turnover, but finally back to full staff. Everybody keeps getting elected things and things like that, so I have to hire new people, but we're back up to 100%.
Good deal. Thank you, Mr. Gold. I will reiterate my congratulations to Callie, and we're going to go to lunch at Tumbleweed, and I'm sure Mr. Gold has encouraged you to eat all the desserts you want. Double up on desserts, yeah. We look forward to taking the family out to Tumbleweed, and well-deserved, Callie. And again, keep up the good work, and I will pay compliments to the East Heights family, who had the very nice idea for me to invite me out to a school-wide assembly dealing with, in various ways, how students there could be their best selves, be part of the family, but also celebrate their individuality and their unique gifts. And that was quite an event. I had a great time, and thank you for, again, allowing me to be part of the presentation. I had a blast. If you do that next year, please invite me back. Want to compliment all of our elected officials who so far through the year have done a great job of managing their budgets and looking for grants in order to support their operations. Anything like that certainly helps the budget and the taxpayers. So keep up the good work. We are halfway through the year almost, and our budget remains very lean, and we're performing well. Want to congratulate our new occupational tax administrator, Brent Hepner, who's now in his 2nd full day of employment with us, drinking from a fire hose. But I have a lot of confidence in him, and really want to compliment Fiscal Court, all the Fiscal Court members, for working through these ordinances and amendments. Sometimes, again, that can be a little taxing, a little slow going, but they're very important, and I think we did a good job of getting through them as efficiently as possible. So congratulations. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.